All right, hello everyone. How is everybody doing? You guys had lunch yet? All right, I gotta hear the voice. How you guys doing? All right, thank you so much for letting me speak and giving me this opportunity to kind of give back and share my story. Hopefully inspire and motivate others. My name is Suleyman Jafer. I was born in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. My mom was raised she grew up in Sana'a, Yemen, which is the capital of Yemen. It's a country in the Middle East, pretty close to Ethiopia. And my dad was born in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. He met my mom, they got married, and they had us right there, our family. So my dad had this philosophy where for me to be able to understand the heritage and the language of my own, I had to go to the country, live there, live like a Yemeni, experience my life, think like a Yemeni, and then go to Ethiopia, learn like Ethiopian, think like Ethiopian, and know the language and the heritage. So I lived and grew up in Yemen, also in Jerusalem and Ethiopia. That way, as a result, I was able to speak Arabic, Hebrew, English, and Amharic and Oromo, which are the Ethiopian languages. So how did I come here? How did I end up standing in the middle of Minnesota in the United States? So my dad was a politician. He was a political activist in Ethiopia, which is an African country. It's not, democracy is not like here. You guys hear it in the news. If you oppose the government, there's consequences. So he got arrested. He was tortured for about 2 years in prison. And with the help of the American intelligence, he escaped prison and he came to Minnesota. But I didn't know anything about him being in Minnesota at all for about, I think, 3 years. So in the meantime, I was recruited as a child soldier. You can see it right there, right here. As a child soldier in the guerrilla armed force, and I served as a scout and a first aid guy. That's kind of what developed my like to try to go for anything that I want, and this grit and kind of shaped the way I am, and to stand for service when things go wrong. That's kind of like what developed me to who I am. And my sibling, my mom, along with me, we moved to Minnesota in end of 2016, which is October-ish. And we came here when protests started in the country. So the civil unrest is still going on. I hope things get better. So I'll talk a little bit of a roadmap of my high school, college career, and job, and show you guys how my experience led me to where I am now, and kind of try to explain how to get to where you want to be. So in high school, right here, my nickname was Ambassa. Ambassa in Amharic means lion, but it's not the way you guys think, King of the Jungle. It's a satire. They just called me Ambassa. And then after I moved to the US, people couldn't pronounce my name. So my chemistry teacher started calling me Sully, which is just an American name. And it kind of stuck through high school into college as well. So Sully is my name. I went to high school in Lucy Education Center in Shashamane, Ethiopia for 2 years. And I moved here and went to Washington Technology Magnet High School. You guys know or heard of Washington Technology Magnet High School? Okay, some people know. A great school, a little bit rough, but really great school. I got to have a lot of opportunities here. And I went to school there. My favorite class, first it was anatomy. I really did love biology. I was really good at biology. I can absorb what the teacher says and understand our body. And I wanted to be a doctor, but that was just my parents' dream for me to be a doctor, just like another African kid. But I was exposed to this class called Principles of Engineering. And that class kind of sparked this interest in me that, oh, wow, I love art and I love making things. And I was able to create things in that class I never thought I would be able to create in classroom, because I used to spend most of my time, third grade, fourth grade, playing around with electronics and trying to figure out and act like an inventor. And it kind of hit me, oh, do I really want to live the dream of my parents, or do I want to live my own dream? And that's kind of what interested me in that class. I fell in love in engineering and I stayed in it. I do not have a dream job. My dream is service, and I don't think just a job can define service to other people. So I do not have a dream job. I did track and field, cross country, and I was also a diver. I also competed in DECA. It's like an event where you compete based on your business. You create some business and then you'll compete with it. And then in high school, one thing I realized is that the curriculum in this country was very different. I had a hard time adjusting because 9th grade and 10th grade, I already finished everything that is need to know in high school. So 11th grade, I was learning everything I learned in freshman year. So I said, okay, I don't know the language and I'm not understanding what they're saying, but I'm just gonna go for it and apply to a community college, do a PSEO program where you study in college and it will count for your high school and college credits. So right here, I did at St. Paul College and the U of M. I studied physics and engineering, and then I did my core curriculum for college in St. Paul College. And after that, I am currently pursuing an undergrad degree at the University of Minnesota, St. Thomas. I wish it was University of Minnesota because I love it. I wanted to take one of Dr. Pinnell's classes, but life takes you where you never expect it. So I study at University of St. Thomas. I'm pursuing a mechanical engineering degree, and also I want to minor in neuroscience. I've started the process of minoring in neuroscience. I want to go into neuromodulation. My favorite class, machine design. If you guys ever go into electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, you're going to get to do this class called machine design. One of the most amazing classes. I'm currently taking it. We're building a robot that will be able to pick apples from a tree and put it in a basket. And at the end of the semester, we're going to compete how much apples we can put into our basket. Based on that, we get points. There is a poisoned apple. If you put that in your opponent's basket, you get 25 points deducted from your opponents. So it's very amazing. And the world of engineering is creative and fun and something I really cherish to be in. I would say barriers I would have to overcome. I already spoke 4 languages, and learning another 5th one was one of the hardest things. I picked up the language within 6 months, but academically, sitting in class, if I don't read, I'm a visual learner. If I didn't read, it would be harder for me to understand exactly what they were saying. So that was very hard. And as a black man in America, going to white-dominated school, it was one of the hardest things I experienced. Very culture shock, a sense of not belonging there. Walking to class and thinking, oh wait, everybody's looking, oh, do I belong here? Like, am I studying engineering and I look like this and no one I can see and I can relate to? That was kind of the hardest things I experienced in that school. But I realized it doesn't matter what you look like. Don't stress about being the only black kid in the class, but be the most engaged human being in the classroom. And one of the biggest thing I learned here in the US is this lesson. I continued my track and field and cross-country career. and I am an alumni in community outreach for the Black Empowerment Student Alliance Club in my college. I am also a mentor for Linkages program. It's a program where we give back as a mentors to other students of colors coming in as a freshman. Also, currently, I am a research and development co-op. Co-op is like internship, but with a little bit more raised pay, but a part-time job where you get to study school and also be able to be doing engineering. This is kind of a program Boston Scientific uses to kind of bring a route towards full-time employment and find and recruit people. So if you have the chance to be a co-op in the future, in the near future, I would recommend that. I work at Boston Scientific. I work in prostate health department. I am a team Resume Gen 2. Resume is this device right here you see. I will talk about it and show you guys exactly what problem I'm solving. It's a device to solve BPH. BPH is a benign prostatic hyperplasia. It's a disease that causes older men to have an enlarged prostate where it blocks the urethra and it's hard to pee or to control urination. So this device helps giving water therapy to the prostate. It goes all the way down to the prostate with a camera navigation system right on the front, and there's a needle that will go into the prostate and it will give water vapor therapy to shrink down the prostate, and those tissues that have been punctured will come down and like they will heal down, so it will become normal. And this is a minimally invasive method of treating BPH. So it's used worldwide and it's been great. The problem I'm solving is the micro imaging. There's a micro camera and LED system right here. I'm working with a Japanese company called Fujikura to work with them to find a biocompatible way of having navigation system for physicians. So one of the best things I've done is, I would say, the micro imaging, because this part of the project has been used. I've seen it in Egypt, Singapore, in China. People are using it. When you see your work being used worldwide, that's a big impact that you have put into the world. So the world of engineering is that powerful. And I will speak a little bit about experience before I will open up for questions. I was an intern when I was in high school. Is there any high schoolers? Yep. Okay, so listen carefully. So in high school, in 11th grade, I was exposed to some program called Cure Cancer. It's a program run by Dr. Pennell, and I didn't know exactly what I want to do, but I knew I wanted to go into biomedical engineering to do medical devices. And based on my interest, I was placed at the biosensory and biorobotics lab in the mechanical engineering building. It was run by Dr. Suhasa Kurandaramaya, one of the speakers this morning. In that lab, we did microelectrodes, like ECOG systems that pick up neural pathways, go into neural pathways, pick up any signals in the brain, and then project it into the computer. It's going to be, in the next 20 years, it's going to be one of the biggest fields in the world in science. So that kind of sparked my interest to focus and shift my brain towards bioengineering, but in the neural pathway, do neuroscience. So I want to be able to make a device that will be able to scan vitals, be able to scan any irregular activity in the body, and I want to go into that field pursuing in the future. My hobbies, I love skydiving. It's kind of what gets me going, puts me into the unknown, and train my brain towards be able to do whatever is like coming in front of me. I still do track and field. I do cross-lake swimming. That's like one thing I would recommend is cross-lake swimming is one of the best things you can do. You can't see anything below you. You can't see anything more than 3 feet in front of you. And you are in the water. You are in the unknown. And you don't know what you're expecting. And your subconscious mind is uncomfortable. And when you are in those uncomfortable situations, you go into you go into this mode where it's like you become brave because you're scared and you are conquering that fear. And that relates towards your career, that relates to your school, that relates to your life, where you go into the unknown to solve it. You go for it, you go ahead without knowing what you're gonna do. But if you have the passion to do what you really wanna do, it doesn't matter if you know it. Nobody, as a student, your one job is to not know. So when you go for it and you put yourself in the unknown, you get to a point where it's like, oh, I can learn, I can do these things. And you find yourself and surprise yourself to be at a really good place. So that's all I wanted to say. 15 minutes, pretty small, but if you guys have any questions, I'll take questions in 1-2 minutes. And all right, right there.
Thank you so much. It was really inspiring to hear your story. I guess I'm thinking about, I teach mostly totally students of color, and thinking about my experience in college is going to be very different than theirs, right? Going to a very white institution like you talked about. Do you have any advice for students of color for when they get to school, how to build community and make it a space for themselves as well?
Really good question. I love that question. One thing I would say is build your individuality first. You have to be able to be at peace with yourself and be able to go into the unknown and feel good about who you are. Like have the confidence to be who you are at first, and go into communities where people have the similar background or similar interests, and kind of cultivate yourself. College is not just a place where you sit in a lecture and do your homework and things like that. It's a place to develop who you are. So being able to be exposed into things, networking, most important thing you can do is networking. If I didn't have the networks I created, I wouldn't be here. So create networks. You guys are exposed to a lot of cutting-edge researchers. I've seen the list of people that are here, very inspiring research they're doing. If you connect, network now, later on, that will be your network, that will be your support network. So that way you could be able to succeed, also kind of create a value within yourself. And if you are a person of color, make sure you cultivate your culture and be proud of it. And it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter who you are, your personal story makes you who you are. Your personal story created you, therefore you don't have to be ashamed of it, and know that you belong there. Wherever you are invited, you belong there. All right, right here. Skydiving was, in one word, I would say exhilarating. I wanted to do it because I felt really helpless and not in control of things. And when I jumped out of that plane, I realized me feeling helpless and not in control of things was out of fear. And fear makes things look bigger than they appear. So one thing I realized is it's not the most difficult thing to do, and it applies to everything. Like you look at some things, oh my God, am I even worthy to do these things? I am scared, I am fearful, but you just go for it, and you break free of that fear, and you realize you're on the other side of the spectrum, and you look, oh, that's what I was scared of, I've done it. So fear is the main thing that we need to, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgments. Those are the main things that keep us from becoming and pursuing our full potential. Any other questions? All right, it's been so great. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's a great crowd. I appreciate being here.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. I'm going to move this over here. All right. And our next